प्रसार भारती अभिलेखागार की प्रस्तुति सदाबहार सुनहरे दौर का अनमोल खजाना।
सभ्यता और संस्कृति जैसे शब्दों का जब भी इस्तेमाल होता है तो हम अक्सर मर्दों के नजरिए से बनी एक ऐसी परंपरा की बात कर रहे होते हैं जहां मानुष ही नहीं सिर्फ मनु का वास्ता पढ़ने लिखने, शिक्षा दीक्षा और किताबों से होता है। भाषा और किताबों की इस राजनीति का शिकार बहुत शुरू से होती रही हैं महिलाएं। इस स्थिति को बदलने के लिए सिर्फ यही जरूरी नहीं है कि महिलाएं हर तरह की किताबें पढ़ें, बल्कि ये भी जरूरी है कि दुनिया का नजरिया बदलने के लिए औरतें हर तरह की किताबें लिखें, छापें और उन्हें लोगों तक पहुंचाएं। इसी जरूरत को मद्देनजर रखते हुए दिल्ली की दो महिलाओं उर्वशी बुटालिया और रितु मेनन ने हिंदुस्तान का पहला महिला प्रकाशन शुरू किया, काली फॉर वुमेन।
Kali is the incarnation of power. She also is generally seen negatively or sometimes seen negatively, and the whole point of feminism is that you redefine things and give them new, positive, creative definitions. So we thought, well, let's look at Kali afresh. Let's look at her as somebody who destroys ignorance, creates a new world.
You know, lots of people say, why only women? And we say, well, it's half the world, so it's no small number. And of course, no one ever asks a law book publisher why they do only law, or a medical book publisher why they do only medicine. But when it comes to women, they say, oh, only women. Meaning, without men, what's the use?
काली से हमारे रिलेशन बहुत अच्छे हैं। काली पहली बात तो ये है कि थॉरली प्रोफेशनल, उनकी अप्रोच भी वही है और वैसे पर्सनल लेवल पे वेरी फ्रेंडली और इट्स प्लेजर वर्किंग विद देम। अच्छा लगता है और डिसेंट पीपल टू डील विद।
We had been doing feminist literature so far, which was for the European market and with the problems or issues related to women in the West. But Kali brought in something which was completely new, and we felt that there was a market for it over here.
Kali began really like a small dream. Around the early 80s, I began to think, why not try and do something like Kali, which is really try to set up a publishing house, publishing books and materials on women, and link it to the women's movement. You know, so in a sense, it was an ideal opportunity to combine the professional capability, which by then I had gained, and a political commitment, which was really like a lifetime's commitment at the time.
We decided that it was something we wanted to do. We had no money, no capital, no hopes of finding it anywhere, but we decided let's take the plunge because after that we'll be too old and too cautious. So we may as well start now. And so in July 84 we did. So that's 10 years ago. We started with 1,000 rupees. We set up a trust. We asked other well-meaning but quite, shall we say, innocent women to join up as trustees, which they did. And they were immensely supportive.
We still have this visual. I mean, the title could just be here to link that frame. That's how you play on the forms.
हिंदुस्तान में हर प्रांत की अलग भाषा होने के कारण हम दूसरे प्रांतों की भाषाओं का साहित्य नहीं पढ़ पाते। इसी बाधा के कारण हमें दूसरे प्रांत के लोगों की संस्कृति, कला, जीवन पद्धति तथा उनकी समस्याओं का पता नहीं होता। पहले औरतों की समस्या के बारे में बहुत ज्यादा नहीं लिखा जाता था। आज औरतें न सिर्फ अपने अस्तित्व को लेकर जागरूक हैं, वे स्तरीय, प्रभावी और समृद्ध साहित्य का सृजन भी कर रही हैं। उनका ये साहित्य, उनका दुख, उनकी समस्याएं देश के कोने कोने तक पहुंचाने के उद्देश्य से दिल्ली के काली पब्लिशिंग हाउस ने महिलाओं के साहित्य का अंग्रेजी में अनुवाद छापने का उपक्रम शुरू किया है।
And we thought that that is quite nice and we'll save it for another series.
Okay, so now Madhu, please, deadlines.
If I can do it by tomorrow, I'll love to do it.
Good,
I'm
then
quite
do it
happy
by
to finish.
ये संजोग की बात नहीं थी कि काली पब्लिशिंग हाउस की पहली किताब थी औरतों के आंदोलन के इतिहास के बारे में। आज इस किताब का उपयोग कई संस्थाएं संदर्भ ग्रंथ के रूप में कर रही हैं।
It was a vision she had of an illustrated book on women's movements and feminism in India. And if you look at the actual structure and layout of that book, it was Urvashi's vision. She also wanted the book to have the character of something that you can both use as a reference work, so you flick through it, and something that you can read as a continuing text.
Women's movement में हम लोग जो शामिल हैं वो अपनी जो हिस्ट्री है उसको डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं करते, वो हिस्ट्री हर जगह पे बिखरी हुई है, खिलाड़ी हुई है।
It was a beginning of a sort to try and put material from over 100 or close to 200 years into one package.
Radha and I talked at one stage, I don't know if you remember this, about the possibility of including documents from the women's movement or posters or pictures and papers and so on, even personal letters and things. And then we came up with this problem. Remember, we sort of looked around how to find these things because nobody keeps anything. Then Radha one day told me that she had a suitcase under her bed. And the suitcase was full of all kinds of old documents and posters and papers and everything. So then we went through that. And you know, I mean, all kinds of things that you had in it.
Yes, stuff dating back to 77 came out of it. I just could never bear to throw anything away, and that suitcase had been carried from Bharati to Bharati and flat to flat.
You want your books to mean something, to do something to the readers. And I would like very much this book because it has been such a labor of love. The most wonderful thing that I think could happen is if a reader read this book and if it actually made a difference. You know, एक अमेरिकन पोएट है एमिली डिकिंसन, उसकी एक छोटी सी पोएम है जिसमें she talks about just a particular kind of light, and she says the way it affects people is it makes an internal difference where the meanings are, and that if this book can go some way towards doing that to readers, as I hope all our work, then I think it's doing what I'd like it to do.
This actually gives us a tremendous advantage over other publishing houses because we are so close to what's happening in the movement that we can anticipate issues. And we can then anticipate our books. You know how it is. You know an idea when it's forming, and so you have, if you like, an advantage that the others may or may not even be aware of.
For me, the life of the mind and the life of political intervention are not separate at all. And that is also what makes it impossible for me to separate my concerns as a woman and therefore as someone very, absolutely sensing a joy and liberation about what the women's movement has achieved over the last few years and what the environment movement has achieved. They are not separate at all.
But I remember you're telling me that hey, I'm a political activist, I'm not a writer, why are you asking me to write a book? Do you remember when we talked about
Well, I remember that, but I mean, one was that I was so engaged in day-to-day activism in '85 at the Nairobi conferences, where we had a special panel on women and the environmental crisis, which was the first time this was getting articulated internationally. And you came to me and said, you must write. But there was a second reason, I had left academia, I had left the rat rate of publishing. And to me, writing was that greed of the academic world, and I kind of turned my back to it. And it was really only when you said, but writing too can be a subversive activity, and convinced me about it, that I started to write, and had no idea that then one of the adjectives and qualifiers for me, then onwards, would be writer. And you are guilty of it.
विमेन स्टडीज़ का फ्यूचर बहुत अच्छा है, क्योंकि पिछले 10 सालों में या 15 सालों में बहुत सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में, यहाँ भी और बाहर भी, विदेश में भी कोर्सेज लॉन्च हुए हैं, और इंक्रीजिंगली पहले से ज़्यादा औरतें लिख रही हैं, पहले से ज़्यादा लोग लिखा जा रहा है और लोग सब्जेक्ट्स पे लिख रहे हैं। और सिर्फ पहले तो ये होता था कि सिर्फ विमेन जो हैं वो किसी सब्जेक्ट का एक हिस्सा होती थी, अब तो विमेन खुद सब्जेक्ट है। और चाहे वो फार्म लेबर हो, चाहे वो कोई और इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी हो, चाहे फ्रीडम मूवमेंट है, चाहे प्रेजेंट मूवमेंट है, हर चीज़ के अंदर विमेन का रोल जो है असेस किया जा रहा है, नए तरीके से असेस किया जा रहा है।
For Kali, I'm doing it for them. And, so, well, it's still very initial stages. It's about a girl just growing up in India, going through all the nuances of her life, I hope to put in it. At the moment, she's still in her mother's womb, and she keeps talking to her. So every time I finish a draft, like I can bring up Urvashi or I can bring up Ritu and tell them, which you can't do with most publishers. They just want the finished product. They don't want to hear about your painful, labor pangs or whatever it is.
On this Kali cover, you have this yellow painting where the woman is Prakriti also. There's a network of leaves on her body. And she's reaching out for this piece of sky, but all around her are images of urban routine and urban chaos. I was quite happy about it because when a painting is used on a book cover, it gets into many hands. Whereas when it's shown in an exhibition, it has a more limited viewing because there are just a handful of people who would come to your exhibition and see the work. But here books are printed in thousands and run into several editions also.
I have published about 11 books, or maybe 12 so far. But with Kali, it is different, and it's not just that it's less impersonal or more informal. It has a lot to do with the personalities of Ritu and Urvashi. Because, they happen to be, we've grown to know them, we've grown to like them, and for reasons such as these. They happen to be not just publishers, but activists, social critics, and very vigilant researchers in their own right. And that, believe me, makes a world of difference for a contemporary woman writer.
They're very supportive, like they are to all their authors, and they are supportive not only of the work you're doing for them, but also of any other kind of writing you are doing. And I find that very valuable. I take any story to them before their editing. Both Ritu and Urvashi are very good editors.
With other publishers, particularly when they swoop down on women writers for their next anthology of stories by women writers. What they ask you is, one fine morning you get a call and a very cheerful voice asking you, do you have a story on women's issues or women-related issues? So of course you have a few in your bag. You give them. Invariably, what they look for is something that is shrill in pitch, something that's almost purple.
If you know that there is a place where you can publish what you're writing, it sort of encourages you to continue, which is what I hope we do with with women writers as well, that we provide them with a kind of forum where they think they will be heard and where there's a possibility that their work will be read. And so it actually makes you think the whole enterprise is not entirely solitary. Writing is a very solitary activity.
This is the first book where I realized, yes, I could sell in good quantity. That's how I called them, that this is a book I would like to distribute. Relationships by Nayantara Sehgal.
Now, why would she do her letters with us? She is a very well-known writer. She's published far and wide. She's published all over the world. But she was quite clear that she wanted a women's publishing house and a feminist house, so that the book would get the kind of treatment and the kind of reviews and the kind of attention that she wanted it to get. So she was quite clear. Many of our readers and our other writers said to us, you know, why did you publish someone's love letters?
Nayantara Sehgal comes from the Nehru family, and I think she's done a very bold job that she's made public her private life, something which is very difficult even for today's woman to accept.
Should Kali be publishing love letters? One woman's love letters? Why? So the ones who were much more politically conscious said, you know, like this, you can publish anyone's love letters. And
all of us look at the commercial angle of everything, whether we can sell or not, basically.
We try to say, no, there is a difference. And if you read the letters, you'll see what the difference is. And that's the difference that Nayantara Sehgal wanted to be evident.
Kali, I mean, they are 10 years old, and that they've survived 10 years is a great thing, because they're going into such a specific book where most publishers would have packed up and run away by now. And I don't think any other publisher I have come across which is so committed to doing an issue. You know, other publishers may want to do books which they feel are issue books, but eventually they have got to go into the commercial market to survive. Kali somehow has managed to break away from that and stay with what they started off to do.
What has happened with us is that bits of our books, the different kinds of books, have been translated by other people for their language area. So far, for translations into other Indian languages and for translation in other countries of South Asia, we have charged no money at all.
We have been exporting Kali books to basically America, to Europe and to Far East, say Japan, South Korea and Australia too. And we have had a very good response. And besides that, we have been selling their books within India too.
The books that get translated in the West, for example, are done by groups that are slightly more solvent. And sometimes they are also much more commercial than the NGOs we work with here. So we feel, and they agree, that they are in a position to pay for it. So that helps us actually to publish this other kind of stuff. You know, I mean, it's just a question of the sales from one benefiting the publication of another.
In some cases, people will come to us for books which no other publisher will be interested in doing because they are not commercially viable propositions. This book, for example, Sharir Ki Jankari, all these pictures are drawn by village women. Now, this is a book, and they wanted it priced really quite low so that they could use it in women's groups all over the place. So had they taken it to a publisher, commercial publisher, they would have wanted to price it up really high, and that would have defeated the purpose. So they brought it to us because they know that with us, at least the common ground is the politics. That is, we are feminists, we are committed to the cause of women, therefore we will look on sympathetically on such a thing, and therefore they brought it to us. And we've had some quite interesting experiences with this book. You know, it's actually, we talk more about the book than the people who made it. That's because I think we have much more access. But over here at the back, you see this list. There's a list of 100 women. These are the 100 women who have actually put this book together with the help of 4 or 5 activists who conducted a series of health workshops.
We think that the writers who do publish with us actually have a very wide exposure. In different parts of the world, they're translated into other languages. And that, I think, is something that any writer cherishes. So we think it's something that should be a serious part of their publishing decision. But of course, people publish with publishers for very many reasons, and only one of them is the list you want to be on. You know what they say, that an author is known by the company he or she keeps. So sometimes they want to keep our company and sometimes they don't.
वो कहते हैं ना कि हर बुरी चीज में से अच्छी चीज भी निकलती है. My husband couldn't have given me a better gift as an actress than his death. वो कश्मीरी लोग होते हैं ना, वो उनकी कांगड़ी होती है यहाँ, उसमें कोल होते हैं और ढके. His death is like that kangri inside me. I have just to flick away the ashes and do a tragic role. And yet, ऊपर से मेरे अंदर इतनी शैतानी भरी हुई है, इतनी लाइफ भरी हुई, that I love to play a naughty or a comic role also.
काली द्वारा सालों से विभिन्न विषयों पर डायरी प्रकाशित की जाती है. उसके आकर्षक अनोखे रूप से ही लोग पहचान जाते हैं कि ये काली की डायरी है. डायरी का विषय प्रमुख रूप से नारी ही होती है.
A request, and Urvashi asked me would I be interested in having my drawings reproduced in their diary, and I said, great, yeah, sure. All the drawings of mine which appear in the diary have women as part of the artwork. And we did that because it is a women's publishing house. But I don't think of them as being about women. I mean, you know, I don't set out to do drawings of women.
When we attended the first book fair in World Book Fair in Delhi, not the first, but our first as Kali, we were there with our diary, plus one book, plus lots of posters and pamphlets which we'd stuck up on the wall, and an empty stall. Other than that, nothing else.
What we had in the beginning was, you know, that old Kali, Bhadra Kali, with the tongue hanging out and, you know, blood dripping and so on, practically.
Very nice.
And nice, but, you know, I found it a bit too dramatic, shall we say.
So she thought of a whole lot of names, and none of which kind of appealed to me. So then we reached a compromise, and we called it Kali for Women, which made it sound a little less scary. Also, it fitted very nicely on the logo. On top of the eyes, you get the Kali for Women, because if we'd had just Kali, it would have been really a bit peculiar sitting up there. So then the logo acquired a life of its own.
So now we think that if we ever have a humor line, if we ever do a joke book, we'll have the eyes winking.
हमारे समाज ने सदियों से ऐसे कहे अनकहे कानून बना रखे थे जिससे कि औरतों की सोच पर ताला लगा रहे, वरना वो जरूर पूछ बैठती कि बेटा होने पर जश्न और बेटी होने पर मातम क्यों मनाया जाता है, लड़के को पढ़ने और लड़की को खाना बनाने के लिए क्यों भेजा जाता है, पर्दे में सिर्फ औरतें क्यों रहती हैं, वगैरह वगैरह. सवाल हजारा और उनके जवाब तलाश करने होंगे खुद औरतों को, एक दूसरे से बात करके तमाम दुनिया तक पहुंचाने होंगे. इसी संवाद की शुरुआत की है काली फॉर वुमेन ने, एक ऐसा मंच औरतों को देकर जहां उनके जज्बात, ख्यालात और नजरिए की कदर होती है. आज औरतें मर्दों की मोहताज नहीं रह गई हैं अपनी बात दुनिया तक पहुंचाने के काम में. आज अगर आपके हमारे पास कहने को कुछ है तो उसे सुनने वाले हजारों हैं, और उससे भी ज्यादा अहम, उन तक पहुंचने का साधन भी हमारे पास है.
साहस 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 साहस